Yes, welcome everyone here to the Smash Sports Show right here on Smash FM here on a lockdown Thursday here in Melbourne. Well, let's go up to our friends up in Sydney. Unfortunately, they're in the same situation like us down here in Melbourne. Of course, they're in lockdown, but they've been in it now for the 7th week, and of course, which means this season unfortunately came to a close last week. And of course, we've got two very special guests joining us right now from the Panthers netball team, who plays in the, of course, the Netball New South Wales Open Premier League competition. Thanks both of you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Great to be here.
Well, I will get both of you to introduce yourselves and tell us what position both of you did play on the court prior to lockdown.
Hi everyone, my name's Carissa. I'm the Panthers Premier League Opens captain. My position is the mid-courts, so I'm pretty short. So I'm through the middle of centre, wing attack and wing defence.
Yeah, I think if we stood side by side rather on Zoom, you'd see the discrepancy a bit more. I'm Claire, vice captain of Panthers. I'm a defender, so I predominantly play goalkeeper in the back. Use my height for that, absolutely.
So the last game was about 2 months ago now. How was the season travelling up to that point?
The season was going all right. There was a few ups and downs. We're a fairly new team that we're together, so we're just finding the strength and we're finding our feet just in that round 1. So it was unfortunate we couldn't actually continue on and get that round 2 under our belt, because we started to actually hit the traps and get comfortable with each other and start working out how everyone plays. So unfortunately we weren't able to continue that, but we did have some great games, some close games. I think we ended up finishing 8th overall. But yeah, definitely things that we're going to work on, and hopefully next year we can continue that.
Yeah, I think we knew it was a building season. So like Riz said, it was a lot of work in round 1 that we were excited to kind of take into round 2 and really deliver on a few game plans. So it was disappointing to not have the opportunity to do that.
The season now done for 2021. When did you sort of had a bit of an idea that the season wasn't going to go ahead?
I was going to say we were kind of getting the updates about lockdown with everybody else. The way the information is passed along through, government to Netball New South Wales to franchises to us meant that we were kind of just guessing for a while, but it was pretty clear when lockdown was being extended and cases were going up that the lockdown wasn't going to end anytime soon, and that probably meant that the season as weeks went on, there was less and less time that we could maybe fit in the rest of the round before it got too late in the year.
How devastating is that to not played now for 2 months, and obviously now you've got to have to wait till next year, which is another maybe 6 months away before you play again?
Yeah, it was pretty devastating when we had our Zoom, the whole squad, so 23s and Opens had a squad Zoom session, and the board told us that obviously the season had to be cancelled. So it was pretty devastating. We kind of knew and expected it was going to get to that case, but definitely something that we don't obviously want to hear, knowing that we still had a whole round of netball to play. So yeah, definitely something that, as any sport, when sport's taken away from people, it's such a shock to the system, and we train and see each other at least 4 times a week to then go to nothing and to then or just be online was such a shock to the system. And yeah, definitely something that's the new norm, I guess, and unfortunately that's the way it's come, but there's definitely worse cases out there, and I think that we're still pretty lucky that we were able to do COVID or Zoom sessions, I guess, and that we were able to still hit the courts, our local courts, hoping that the season was going to come back. But unfortunately, it wasn't the case for 2021.
A couple players in your team that had an awesome season throughout 2021, and you can't include yourselves or each other.
Oh, damn it.
There goes Riss's game plan. I mean, I might jump in here. We've got a couple of amazing young guns in the squad that are going through different pathway and development pathways with New South Wales and different training camps and development squads. And we had a couple of girls actually come up from our 23 squad from last season, join us in the Opens this year. And I think it was great to see, honestly, some of these guys step in and play with such maturity and experience on court at this level was really impressive to see.
Yeah, pretty much what Claire was saying. We're very fortunate that we had such a strong 23s that when we were in trouble, we could pull those players up to fill into the open squad. And then also we have the New South Wales Swifts and Giants training development players, so they were in our squad as well. So yeah, they're exceptional in trying to obviously do their load with that academy as well as our load of training. So yeah, we were very lucky with the players that we had. And yeah, I think overall everyone's amazing. So I can't pick one person.
Now, I have to ask this question as a follow-up. Obviously mentioned before about, obviously you had some training partners that's in the Swifts and the Giants. Obviously the Swifts and the Giants are doing pretty damn well at the moment up in Queensland, of course, in the final series. But tell us a couple of players that's in their training partners, which is actually now obviously playing for yourselves as well.
Yeah, we've got a few scattered amongst the squad, which is great. But I mean, we've got players like Leilani, for example, who is also a defensive mid-court player, and she's been in the Swifts training camp for a couple of seasons now. But last year with COVID, she actually travelled with the team and was up in the hub, which sadly for us meant we missed her. At least this year we had her back in Sydney to play with us, and as Chris said, that's part of the bargain, right? We're really lucky to have these amazing developing players in our squad, but they have to balance that load, which means some of the girls, do certain sessions or can't make it to every game and have load management that comes into play. But what Leilani, Luana, we've got Soph, Keita, I know was in one of the squads. Chris, am I missing anyone? We're pretty lucky with our list of
I think Kayla did the Indigenous games, the debut. So they did the welcoming game for the Indigenous. That was before the Swifts and Giants, I think, one of their games. So yeah, very lucky to have the experience and the talent that we have in our squad.
Now, both you been captain and vice captain of the open team there at the Panthers. What did that mean to both of you? And I'm assuming did it come as a surprise to both of you? I'm assuming it wasn't, but was it?
It definitely was a surprise. I'll speak first. This is my first year at Panthers. So for me to get captain, it was, a massive surprise. And the leadership process was we had to come up with a leadership video, what leadership meant to us, what we were going to do as a captain, and how the girls really would respond to us being the leaders within our group and what would we provide to the team pretty much. So it's kind of rewarding when the girls and the committee and the board and coach, they actually voted. So when we had our presentation of our uniforms, we got told then. So it was a massive surprise for us, or for me in particular. But thoroughly enjoyed it and loved every moment. Just wish we could finish the season out.
Yeah, I think we're really lucky to have, with the franchise at Panthers, the support we have from that entire franchise group and the coaching and supporting staff. Like for leadership, we have a lot of transparency around that process and it comes from the players. So as Rick said, it's like really, it's an amazing surprise, but really rewarding to have that responsibility voted in from the girls. And again, we have a really long preseason in the lead up before we get to that stage. So, even Risk coming in, we had a chance to suss her out, get to know her before handing her the captain badge. But definitely a surprise, but amazing to be trusted for that role by the team and the coaching staff.
What have both of you learned from being captain and vice captain with each other?
Oh my God, thanks for that. Claire's amazing to work with. So I think that we both have that strong personality where we bounce ideas off each other incredibly well. And I think that as soon as after training, we would stay back for 5 or 10 minutes. What could we do to improve? What could we do to try and build that team cohesiveness? What activities? And how can we build this strong team? Because without the teamwork, through us and through the girls, it's so important to deliver that on the court. So you can have the best team on paper, but if you don't have that teamwork, it doesn't really work. So I feel like Claire was fantastic. We worked together and definitely an amazing vice captain. So she had the defensive end and I was lucky enough to take it to captain to split ourselves up. But it was.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like divide and conquer. But no, absolutely. Riz has been an amazing partner, and we talk a lot at Panthers about the whole athlete, and we come from all different walks of life and different day jobs, traveling and getting together to train and play and do all the other stuff that goes into competing at this level. So for us to have that great relationship and trust in each other, to kind of be there in the background, making sure that everyone's getting what they need out of the program experience, and outside of the court as well. Really great to have that support and experience from Riss this season.
How did both of you get involved in netball, and why did you choose it?
I'll go first because I actually was staunch against netball back in my primary school days. I went to a co-ed school that had only recently allowed girls. I was a tomboy. I played all the bloke sports and footy, and didn't go near netball until much later. And even then, I just wasn't allowed to row yet. So I went to netball. I was really uncoordinated, awkward preteen at that time. I was not good at all, but took to it and absolutely loved it. So I started playing when I was 12, I think, and that was back in Perth. So I went through high school and went through the development pathways and state squads over there before I moved to Sydney and got involved in Premier League.
I started netball when I was 8, only because my mum was like, "Nah, you got to do netball, you're doing this." And I remember she tells me every time that I used to cry every session that I went. And she's like, "Nah, you're sticking through it." Anyway, so then had a couple of years off, and then back into it when I was probably 11, and went through all the development stages at Penrith, and then went to Blue Mountains for a bit. And then, yeah, here I am back in Penrith. But yeah, loved it. Loved playing netball, touch footy, anything active really. So
But both of you mentioned right at the start what position both of you play on the court. If you had a preferred position where you like to convince your coaches to put you for next season, where would that be?
I'd play as a shooter. I've had a turn every now and then as a shooter just because I'm tall, but it's a totally different experience as a goalkeeper. No one wants you to have the ball. You're just there to be a pest and tip it away every now and then. So whenever I have a chance in social settings to play any attack position where somebody actually wants to give me the ball, is super fun.
Definitely, same with Claire, probably that goal attack. I feel like that's a very common position everyone wants to play, but only a certain amount of people get there. But definitely, yeah, I would not, I would have to jump a fair bit in the league with all the tall goalkeepers and goal attacks going around these days. But yeah, definitely the goal attack position. Yeah, bring back my youth day when I was there when I was probably 8, 9. Before the coaches said, "You're getting too short, out you go."
There's always that age of goal attacks and girls or guys learning goal attack when they didn't hit the growth spurt to continue as a goal shooter. They have to make it up with the work rate out the front.
Thanks, Claire.
But you've got a great work rate.
Now, what would be some highlights throughout both your netball journeys so far?
Highlights for me was probably the under 23s Australian netball team. That was pretty cool, going to Brisbane, playing against South Africa and New Zealand when I was 22. So that was a massive experience and a massive highlight for me to play for our country. And probably a highlight for me, as silly as this sounds, is when I did my ACL coming back after 9 months. The recovery of that was insane. So for me to actually step back on court in 9 months, gave myself a goal. Obviously the process is very long and hard. But yeah, that's a key highlight for me, I think, getting back on that court and getting back up to Premier League as well.
I took a bit of time off netball a couple of years when I was at uni. I had played through development pathways and squads and just spent all this time training and wasn't loving it. So took a couple of years away and came back, and that was a real highlight. Similarly, when I moved to Sydney, I had to take a year off because I missed the season. So getting back involved with Premier League and actually getting back into it with a completely renewed love of the sport and just, a whole new level of motivation coming and playing and training because I wanted to be there, not because it was just like this natural progression of pathways and continually like moving into different teams, was just, a really really good highlight, but amazing. Aside from that, I've played a bit of mixed netty, a lot of social, but things like uni games and state comps is mixed, which has been a real highlight. I think that's something that I love about the sport is how inclusive it is, but seeing guys get involved and play some of the most fun and outrageous and athletic netball with these guys, as well as the girls on court, has been great.
So what does the sport of netball mean to both of you, and especially being at the Panthers Netball Club?
Netball means to me the friendship that we're able to build and that teamwork. Literally, you come across some amazing people once you start getting involved in team sport, and I think that's what it really means, is developing those friendships that are going to last ages, and developing that relationship with so many people. Basically that's what netball means to me.
Yeah, I love that. And unfortunately, it's not going to be a very unique answer, because I agree with Ruth. It's really, for me, like the perfect team sport. There's such a great team vibe. You've got your units that you have to work with on court. You've got your team that has to function as a unit, and that happens off court. So you're making great friendships and relationships, and that goes all the way through. Especially at a franchise and a club like Panthers, it's not just the girls. We've got amazing coaches and support staff, and everyone involved we get to meet and build those relationships with. And then kind of taking that even a step further, the netball community is just fantastic. I think every week, like, you go to Netball Central for these games, and you've got girls from different franchises, you know, catching up and hugging, and you've got coaches with different girls. Like, there's such a great community around, you know, netball that is super unique. But that, for me, that friendship and that community is just fantastic.
Panthers, which everyone knows, obviously part of the Penrith Panthers in regards to, is that part of the rugby league side of things? And if so, are either you Penrith fans?
It's definitely part, like our board committee member of Panthers is one of our sponsors. So yeah, it's definitely interrelated. Not as much as I think over time or in time. I hope it gets a lot closer with all the Penrith sports out here, that they kind of build a relationship with either cricket, softball, rugby league, netball all together. Panthers fan, well, my team is Bulldogs, and so I'll be going for probably Panthers, let's be honest. And I live in Penrith, I work in Penrith, so yeah, Panthers will be my second team, considering my team is not doing well at all. We're in the building phase as well for Bulldogs, so yeah.
Put it down to a building year, hey? I guess I'm a fan by default. I actually don't follow the sport at all, despite whenever I'm wearing my Panthers hoodie, the logo is exactly the same, and people strike up a conversation and ask me for my opinions on how they're going or like certain players, and I have no idea. So I just tell them I'm a fan, but I'm too passionate to talk about it.
I love it.
I'm not in Penrith either, so no one around me is a Panthers fan.
All right. Now, what would be your advice to people, especially in the Penrith and the Blue Mountains area, that should get involved in netball once you're out of lockdown?
I think it can start even before getting out of lockdown. I mean, doing, you know, runs in our fitness and programs and connecting with the girls is one of, you know, the best things that's happened during our lockdown to keep me sane. But like we said, there's such a great community of support in netball. I think for young players wanting to get involved and move through the pathways, just putting yourself out there and getting involved and having those conversations. I mean, from my journey, a lot of my coaches and even the assistant coaches that have been involved to some degree have really been the ones to help shape my pathway and you know, connect and give feedback and, you know, put me in the right places to have opportunities in netball. And I see that a lot. It's super strong with the pathways here. There's a lot of opportunity. Just putting your hand up and having a go. You know, if you've got your hopes set on making a certain team or, you know, getting to a certain level, just keep going at it and ask for feedback. The coaches and teams are so supportive that even if it doesn't happen right away, you'll get the feedback you need. It's something you can keep working on. And there's, you know, plenty of opportunity out there, but just enjoy it. Like, netball is great. I think I've been through the stage of going away and coming back, and it is just so much fun. I think if you can keep playing netball forever, like, that's the dream.
Definitely what Claire was saying, like to all the girls and boys out there, the community for netball is incredible. So make sure you take every opportunity that comes your way. Put in the work behind the scenes. I always find if you're the one doing that extra run or that extra training session or that extra time, thinking about the preparation tomorrow is always the today in success. So putting that work in when no one's watching, and always setting those achievable goals. Definitely ask your question why you're doing it. And if you're not doing it because you enjoy it, you're doing it as a have to, maybe reconsider why your purpose of actually going out there and playing netball. Definitely the main thing is to have fun, because if you have fun, you're probably playing the best. So that would be my advice to everyone out there.
Finish off with a couple light-hearted questions about your teammates. Firstly, who had the most embarrassing moment on the court this season, and what was it?
It was Sarah. So one of our goal attacks, 5 minutes into the game, she was running up and down. She was trying to call time, and the coach was like, "It's time. It's been 5 minutes. Like, what's wrong?" And finally, the umpire saw her call time, and then she literally ran off the court and vomited her guts up in the bin. Anyway, after that, we get off at first quarter. Obviously, everyone around her, "You're right, you're right." She's like, "Yeah, I just ate cereal before I played. Not a good idea." And this is all on live because all the games are live streamed.
Yes.
So you see her run off and, chuck up her guts in the bin right next to the bench. So I think that's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah. I think when it comes to pre-game routine, it's like why everyone can be so particular with their pre-game prep. You don't want to mess it up in case you end up filling your guts 5 minutes into the match.
It wasn't good. She caught it well though. She did catch half of it in her hands before she ran off, so she caught it well.
Just in time. We've got
That's
rolling subs, so there's no reason that she would call time, like we would just roll out, but because no one was waiting in the box to come in for her because we'd just come on court, it was like she was there for ages on the side of the court with no one calling time, no one stopping.
Oh, you got to send me that game so I can actually see it myself. And who's the comedian, the best singer, and the best dancer on the team?
I'd almost go a 3-for with Anika in our mid-court. She's the person that always turns up singing a song, something that's been on the radio, some pop song from the hot hits.
Beyonce's favorite.
A lot of Beyonce, and we'll blast it and do all the moves, and then driving home from training I'll be singing or humming this song, like how did this get in my head? And it's every week, it's every session, so but it's great energy to have. And then even like we do strength and conditioning on Saturday morning, so to turn up and have someone bright-eyed singing and dancing their heart out first thing in the morning is great vibes to have around from Neeks.
I think Lou and Tamara, they're probably the comedians. So these terrible two, they're literally stuck by side with one another, but they're pretty funny. They just have some good jokes and like lighten the mood up. Definitely do something silly. They're funny.
Occasionally caught not paying attention.
Probably Kayla. When we had that night out, she can drop some moves. Yeah,
absolutely. Hidden skills, dance talents.
Yeah, not us two, that's for sure. We'll stick to the netball court. Yeah.
No, my position. I'll stay in my box. Unless someone's offering a GA bib,
Is anyone on the team into their TikToks?
Sarah references TikTok a lot, but I know that Tam and Lou are on TikTok. I think they're classic, get caught scrolling. But we actually had a challenge. So before we found out the season was cancelled, we had a bit of a get together with the whole Panthers squad and did a scavenger hunt. And one of the items on the list was to recreate a famous TikTok dance. So we actually got to see everybody's TikTok abilities on display. Needless to say, some were a lot better than others. So. You had an awesome one, Carissa. Carissa had the workout TikTok like push-up thing.
Yeah, it's all right.
Very impressive, but I looked at that and went, now that I've seen Riss do it, there's no way I can do it that well. I'm just not gonna.
So my next question I'm going to ask is, do either of you have a pre-game superstition or ritual?
Yes, I do. It's bad. I literally have to strap my left ankle, strap my right, put my left sock on, then my right, and save my shoes. And then I do my shoes up, and then I have to undo them and redo them again so they're tight. It's really odd. I don't know why I do it. But yep, that's my superstitious. And if we win, I have to make sure I wear those same, like I have the same sweat towel, same crop top, obviously washed, but it has to be. But yeah, that's my superstitious. I'm a very superstitious person. I hate it, but yeah, it's how I am.
At least you're washing the kit each week. That would be a bit of a problem. If not. I am not very superstitious at all. But things like retying my shoelaces, when you start to warm up, they loosen again. But I found that actually, even when they're fine, I have to untie and retie them before the game starts. Otherwise, I think it's more like concern that I'm going to have to do it during the game, and that stresses me out. So like retie the shoelaces every time in the warm up.
Finish off with this one last one. Now, we mentioned before about, all the funny things that's happened. Has anyone got any good nicknames in the team?
Niki.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nika, who's our in-house karaoke pop artist.
That's Staunch. Kate Staunch. Call her Staunch because she's so competitive, even if it's like a team building game. Nothing, no prize, maybe a chocolate bar. Yeah, she's full hard diving on that ball no matter what. So we call her Staunch.
Yeah, no prize, just the recognition of being the winner is enough.
Yeah. I think that's it. I'm trying to think who else. Not really. No other ones, I don't think.
No, except for we've got two Leilanis. So Lani and Lans, except I think everyone at some point started calling Lani Lans and Lans Lani. So you shout something on court and they'll both turn, which is fine. I mean, better, more players than no one responding.
Both of you, thank you so much for getting up your time to join us. It's awesome having both of you on the show. Also, we wish we could talk a bit more about, the season if it was continued. But hopefully next year is hopefully a bit better of a situation than it is right now. And obviously we send our best wishes to everyone up there, especially your teammates there at the Panthers. And hopefully we'll get to see all you back on the court again in 2022 and hopefully get a full season in this time.
Fingers crossed. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having us, and the same with you guys, sending our wishes to you in Melbourne as well, keeping safe and making sure everyone's well. So.
Sinclair joined us from the Panthers Netball, of course, team, of course, part of the, obviously with their season come to a close last week for the 2021 season. There's more on the Smash Sport Show right after this. Don't go away here on the 10th year celebration.